Alright, so now that the roof is painted, we have to wait for the body because we have to work on the doors. And we're going to put the doors on after they're ready so that we can paint the whole thing. I haven't quite decided that that's the way that we're going to do it, but that's why I painted the door jambs first. So, let's take a look at the doors. Essentially, this is the condition of the A surface here. The passenger side rear isn't super bad. It's actually pretty good. There are quite a few little scratches. The driver's side needs a little bit of work. I'm going to work on the driver's side first, but I wanted to show you a few spots, and really the reason why you should not hesitate to change your hinge bushings, the door hinge bushings. So the bushings on this in particular on the driver's door were very worn. That causes the door to sag a little bit, which causes it to not latch very well, which causes the seals to get torn up, and it causes the driver to keep slamming the door, pulling harder and harder, so that this little bracket down here ends up separating, and because the door handle is right here, and that's what happens. So what I have to do is I'm not going to go hunting for another door. I'm just going to fix this one. I have to strip all this stuff down. I really did not want to remove this window, but I think I'm going to have to, since I have to replace these tracks in here anyway. So I have to strip all this down. We're going to weld this back up. Might put a little plate in the back of it to reinforce it. Get rid of all this stuff because that'll all be refinished. The other thing that happens when your door sags, I put some JB Weld on here before, but as the door sags, it hits the little screws that are down here. They go in these holes for the sill plate, and it slowly chips away until there's a hole. So there's a hole here, and there's a hole here. So we'll weld that up as we get going. So this is like, I don't know what phase we're in, but it's time to start working on the doors. First things first, let's drill this up. Seems like these are aluminum rivets, so they go pretty easy. Okay. We'll be refinishing this part anyway. So now I'm going to peel up this stuff here. Let's see what that looks like. I don't know, maybe I won't even put it back on. Maybe we'll just do body color. It might be nicer actually. Let's just say we're not going to put the vinyl back on. that rolls underneath the that lip seal. See if I can get that. I wish that was more satisfying, because I think that's the last easy thing that I'm going to have to do. Unfortunately, I think this piece, this triangle, this sail window, is a part of the track, window track that goes all the way down. Let me see if that's right. Yep, there's the track. Which means, let's see, how bad would that be? The bracket here. Maybe this. Hard to tell. Is there anything else holding this on here? Screws. Is there a way to remove it without removing the glass? Could I leave the window on here? Since I don't have the seal on this side, is there a benefit in not removing the glass? No, not really. I really didn't want to have to strip the whole door, but I'll have to ponder this one for a minute. I'll get back to you in a second. So this is a 3/8 head screw. It holds this little plastic piece. Let me see if you can see that. In the glass. There's a hole in the glass and this little plastic clip goes through the glass. There's no reason, I hope, to take that clip out. I'm guessing it's pretty hard and brittle. So you have to hold this clip in place like this while you're using a 3/8 socket to get the screw out. On the other side, you're going to need to move the glass. So let me set that up and show you. Okay, just using a 12-volt source. It just happens to be a DeWalt. And let's see, the end terminals are typically the ones that are plus or positive and negative. So let's see, I'm not sure if this is... close. I think it's binding down here on something. So we have the same, need to get it down a little bit further to this hole. All right, you can't even see. To this hole here so that we can get the same screw. Let me put you over here. Can you see? There we go. Let's try again here. Nope. It's bound on something, so yeah. The we're pulling at an off angle because I already had to remove one. So let me see what I can do. I might be able to get in here with a just an open end wrench. There's enough hand access in there. I can get in here and remove the same screw like that one to get the glass out. All right, 3/8. Let's see if we can get lucky. Seems to be doing something. That's good. All right, so I removed the 2 screws that hold the glass in place. There's the little bracket. And the glass is loose, it's away from the motor. But there's not a good way to remove this. If it's in the all the way up position, you still have several inches inside the door. And there's not a good way to tilt it, I don't think. There's not a good way to tilt it up because it's captured in these channels here. So what I think I might have to do is remove the sail panel piece somehow, and then that will give room for the window to kind of tilt out of the way once this bar is gone. So now that this is loose, I'm going to see about removing this next. So what's obvious are these screws on the A-pillar, so we'll remove that real quick. And hopefully I won't lose anything. But I think there's a hidden screw as well. I think right underneath where that hinge point is, there's a screw. I remember a long time ago seeing something about that on a forum. So let me put you in a stand and I'll come right back. So let's see. This is as much for my own reassembly instruction as it is for others to see. There's probably something in the service manual that shows how to do this the right way, but that's all the screws over here. I'll be right back. So, I don't know if you can tell, there's a channel here that the seal sits in. And we're just gonna pull it out of the channel. This rubber is actually in surprisingly good shape, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to save it. Well, that's a struggle. I'm just going to have to keep cranking at it until I get there. So I'll let you know if there's a trick. Okay, so I pulled the seal from the corner here. It's just pressed in. but this hinge point goes through the seal. So I was thinking, like, how the heck does it go through the seal? And then I looked underneath. And I don't know if you can see that right here, but there's a 1/2 inch nut on the hinge. Let me see, maybe this way it would be better. Right there. So that holds, I think, the hinge. So I'm going to try to take that off and see what happens. All right, well, I'm not sure if I just screwed myself or not, but I removed the seal because I don't know if there are any other attachment points for this triangle anywhere on the door. And other than these Phillips screws that I removed, I don't think so. This seal cannot be taken off without removing this bracket, which is riveted to this channel here. So I'm not going to remove that. The seal is in good shape. I could drill out this hinge point here. See the rivet? I could drill that out, remove the piece of glass, because I removed the tension spring. See the tension spring here? Pretty rusty. That was holding this in, so that's on a pivot point here. But it's not really attached anywhere else. Like this piece is not attached to anything except this vertical bar. So I think my next step is to go back over here and start removing the vertical window channel. So basically these and these. And let's see what I can do. In fact, for these two hold this L bracket here. Let me show you. Let me get my light. They hold an L bracket that everything is mounted to. So I wonder if I can just remove this screw here instead of that whole assembly. I don't know. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to remove this one on the side here first and see if I can get away with that without having to touch the lock or anything else. So let's see. I wonder if there's a screw that's holding this channel in. This is so brittle. Watch this. I'm going to work on getting this stuff out, and maybe there's something else. But removing those few bolts loosened up this bar. And I want to find a way. Just keep working at it, finding a few bits here and there, and when I find them, I'll show you. Okay, so I removed the top crusty window channel. No screws, nothing in there. This is very stuck, so I ended up persuading it gently as I could. So now the whole vertical assembly is loose, but it's kind of wedged in here, so I'm going to try to persuade this corner just out of the way. Hold on. All right, let's try again. So this corner's loose. Maybe, just maybe, I can get it out of the door frame. not looking so hot. There we go. I've got to work on this corner here. You can't see anything. God, how the hell am I going to put this stuff back in? So I'm going to try to pull that way. Let's see what happens, because this door, everything should be loose. Anything holding it here? Stuck in the corner here, but it doesn't seem like it's riveted. Old cars are fun. So this part is loose. This part don't see any rivets. This is just this horizontal bar is just riveted to the vertical bar. That's just screwed into the window here. I'm sorry. Well, let me see if I can get this out and then I'll show you what it looks like. Well, that was unpleasant, but here it is. So what did I have to do? First of all, a couple observations. The attachment points. The only attachment points for this whole frame are the Phillips screws that are on the outside of the window. These 4 3/8 screws that are here. And really only one 3/8 screw that is sideways here. You could take this whole bracket off. I chose not to take the whole bracket off. What was giving me difficulty? Well, the window, the glass itself, was still partially in the channel here, and so I had a hell of a time. I tried to pull this bar toward the center here, and I could not. And I kept looking, and I didn't see that the top of my window was still in the channel here. The bottom part had this bottom of the bar had tilted out enough that the glass had fallen out, but it was still partially in here. So once I realized that, I was able to wiggle the glass out of the channel, and then this slid straight out. So I guess that's good. So now we have this. We can do a little bit of repair, and that I did end up removing the this piece of glass. In retrospect, I didn't have to do that. It certainly made things easier. I ended up drilling out the rivets that were here, and ultimately it may prove to be a good choice because that looks like it needs some work anyway. Now we can remove the glass itself. Clean up and see if there's anything else that needs to be removed before we start any steel work. Let's take a look here. So I'm not going to remove the lock mechanism. I've decided that already. We are going to repair this, weld this closed, grind it down to steel, both of these sections. Hinge mounting points, little rust converter here. Now here's what I did notice, which doesn't look very good. So this bracket, this whole thing is broken here. Just a very clean break. So from continuously slamming the door shut because the door hinges were worn, the hinge bushings were worn, all of this whole inner panel was pulled. Ultimately, looks like I've got a formation of a crack right here. This bracket that holds the inner and the outer obviously is gone. This is broken here. Looks like we're cracked there. And there. Boy. That gives me a bit of a pause. I'll have to think about what to do. I mean, I know I can weld this in, but is it ever going to be good? Or should I look for a door? Well guys, this is about as far as I'm going to go in this video, but let's review where we are. The door is as disassembled, I think, as it's going to be for the next steps. My intent is to scuff up this, do the epoxy and the whole thing, but not before I do some metal repair. In particular, I need to decide what I'm going to do here, honestly, whether or not finding a donor at a salvage yard or someplace that doesn't have this issue. So because the door hinge bushings were worn, the previous owner never fixed those and kept slamming and slamming the door. And so you can see the bracket that joins the inner and outer here is separated, caused a crack here. Pretty significant damage here. This is the correct profile because it's still joined here, right? So it should be like that. And this bracket should be joined here like that. So I'm gonna try to repair it. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. I really don't want to try to find something else. Here's another crack. So I think once I peel away some of the paint, we'll be able to tell exactly how much work we have to do. But what about here? Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. So, yeah, plenty to think about, but story for another day. So we've got this to do on this door here, We are going to remove the glass and everything, but I really can't do everything at once. So we're going to do one door at a time. So until then, thanks for watching.